guys, Matt here. Good morning to everyone. It's 19th of August. I think it's about a month since the last Chelsoph update. This is Chelsoph update 10, so we're into double figures, which is quite a milestone, I think, because it kind of just captures how long this has been going on now. I think I started the Facebook group back in, I think it was December or 23 or January 24, anyway. And that was, the whole reason for doing this was just to get some conversation with like-minded philosophers. And it sort of grew quite rapidly locally. We've had a couple of Chelsoph socials. And then I started, trying to get some answers from some of these key thinkers in sort of critical areas like neuroscience and philosophy and physics and so on. And so I emailed Donald Hoffman, and he said, "Yeah, okay, I'll talk to you." I hope he doesn't regret that decision. That was my first of my videos, and very amateurishly done. Hopefully, I've got a bit more sort of clipped and professional now. I properly introduce the guests and so on. Well, probably get better on all of it, but yeah. So I was going to talk about a few other things as well. So a few things that are kind of happening. Number one. I never really started any of this with any desire to sort of monetize or make any money out of it. But the YouTube site has taken so much of my time and effort, and obviously it's taken quite a lot of time to manage, and the Facebook group and all the other kind of social media outlets for this as well, because obviously we've had quite a few sort of big names, and much as I've fallen back a little bit on guest management lately, I'm pretty hopeful that we can attract quite a lot more guests because of the sort of reputational gain that those pretty big names have given us. I mean, Mark Soames, he's a sort of world famous psychologist, and he actually has a working theory of consciousness. So yeah, I mean, he's in the higher echelons I mean, Donald Hoffman, world famous. He had like 5 million views on his TED talk. I've had roughly 40,000 views of the Hoffman talk and so on and so forth. The point I'm getting to here is that this stuff is costing me time and it's costing me money. So I've set up a scheme on the YouTube. The YouTube approached me and said, you can monetize now after X amount of hours of views and so on and so forth. And so I've introduced this new thing where you can sort of upgrade to be a member. And I've gone for what I think is the cheapest amount possible, which is $2.99 a month. I might have been able to go for $1.99, but it's almost, if not as cheap as possible. And I've made some of the videos kind of members only. Perhaps I'm going to do more sort of controversial material, things about maybe drugs, sex, gender, race, all these sorts of these kind of slightly tougher, kind of more sensitive sort of areas. So I'm going to make those members only. But the interviews will always be available to everybody for free, because I think that's probably the most important aspect of this, to bring these key thinkers to a wider audience. And in fact, that's the whole raison d'etre really of Chelsoph, Cheltenham UK Philosophers, is to provide a sort of an introductory space for people who are relatively new to philosophy or just have an interest in it. We want to kind of be a gateway service, if you like, to deeper and more technical areas. So people come to Chelsoph and they've got ideas about, I don't know, materialism or ethics or something like that, and hopefully there should be material both discussed within Chelsoph, the Facebook group, or other social media areas. Or there will be videos and things that are on this subject, or talks perhaps on this subject. So that's still the main thrust of this. But I guess I'm just fessing up here that I could do with making a few quid out of this as well, because it's cost me a fortune. And if I added up the hours that have gone into it, and even paid myself a measly £20 an hour, or £15 an hour, minimum wage even, right? It would still be in the thousands and thousands of pounds, right? So it would just be helpful. So the scheme that I've got at the moment, there are 3 tiers of membership. I'll be lucky to attract anyone to the higher tiers, but the higher tier membership, the platinum membership, which is like 20 quid a month or something, that entitles the platinum members to an annual meal, with myself and other Chelsoph members if they're interested, right? And so, that would be cool. Start getting a kind of annual. I'm thinking of doing it December, sort of like an annual Chelsoph Christmas meal. And obviously, fully paying members on YouTube, wherever they are, I'll put them up and I'll feed them, right? So that could become quite expensive eventually, depending on sort of how many interested parties we get. But there's a middle tier membership as well, which is like tenner a month. and each tier of membership gives you access to certain things and features on the site. I need to integrate with some other services. There's one in particular I need to integrate with. Someone was banging on at me about it the other day. Never mind. It'll come to me soon, but it's kind of like another social media platform. We can have conversations and so on and so forth. So I need to do so much, and I'm probably going to have to take on an extra pair of hands. I've been advertising on LinkedIn for like a social media, film editing, guest management kind of assistant. So this is going to start costing even more money. So yeah, this isn't an appeal. I don't expect anybody. You certainly wouldn't wish to coerce anybody into doing it, but it would just help a little bit if there was a few pennies rolling in. Thinking of doing Chelsoph merch at some point, just see how big we get. But things like mugs, t-shirts. I've already got a Chelsoph t-shirt. I had a couple printed. I should wear it and film myself in it at some point. Um, what else is there to say? So I've been having some interesting conversations with the admin team here at Chelsoph, and we've already set down like a vision. We've set down a vision for Cheltenham UK philosophers. The things that we're trying to do, right? We're trying to bring reason to a sort of reason impoverished world, where we seem to end up with these sort of crazy and misinformed, polarized debates where where the polarities might not even be the correct ones, and so there's so many assumptions built into these dogmatic positions. And we're here to kind of challenge dogma and presuppositions and assumptions and free miracles and so on and so forth, and just to remind people that, certainty isn't necessarily where we want to be. Right. I mean, there's some interesting debates around some of this. I mean, mathematics seems to be one of the maybe pure logic. They seem to be areas where we can say, well, it's certainly the case that x equals x, right? But again, that doesn't necessarily tell us anything about the real world, in inverted commas. It tells us that there is consistency within a model that we've developed called mathematics, right? So you can say, well, I'm certain about these mathematical truths, but I think that's about where it ends. And certainty in other areas doesn't come from just pure reason and logic alone, or should I say belief in other areas. It comes from a sort of an intuition, a kind of a feel for the nature of reality. I think there's certainly evidence that can build up to support or perhaps attack certain metaphysical positions. So, for example, take things like near-death experiences. I mean, they seem to suggest that there is no materialist explanation for why these people can report seeing things that their eyes definitely could not have seen. That being among sort of many different examples, and the idea that patients seem to be able to survive their own brain and heart death, right? And there's still something going on as far as they're concerned. So, that's that certainly seems to undermine a position of materialism, but it doesn't necessarily promote the alternative. So it doesn't necessarily promote panpsychism or idealism. It might suggest they're closer to the truth, but it doesn't offer final confirmation, right? I mean, I've declared already that I'm some kind of an idealist, right? But that the story isn't over for me. I think arriving at a final concrete position is the death of philosophy in some sense. Um, so, so yeah, I mean that's what we're about. So I think we're probably going to take issue with too much dogma. So if, for example, someone just comes in and starts banging on about the truth of Buddhism or the truth of Hinduism or something, and laying that down as the final word, and that there is no other, I think that might be an issue. And I mean, I'm not talking about instant bans or anything like that, but certainly possibly a word in the ear. And there's a way of going about things as well, you know. Perhaps instead of starting with conclusions, start with methodology and the reasons why you've reached that conclusion. And sort of perhaps some of that could be explored and challenged, right? But equally, if the other thing to say is that if you are offering up positions of certainty, then don't expect people to hang back with their responses. You will probably face criticism. So, there's a debate going on about this and what the standards and values of this group need to be, and we're kind of working something up, which again will be open to critique and discussion, and outright revision if the reason dictates that it should be revised. Um, I hope this is making sense. I've got a number of guest books. There's a bit of a gap. I'm looking for some guests sort of in the near term. So if anyone's got any suggestions, I know there's some people within admin. So thanks, Mike, for looking to some of your networks and so on. I hope everybody's well, and I hope some of the new members in the group are enjoying the content that's already there, or there's been some sort of lovely introductions from people. Um, don't worry too much if your ideas aren't just sort of, instantly accepted and endorsed and promoted. I mean, we're a philosophy group, and we have a range of different approaches to that, some more technical, some more detailed than others, some more intuitive and imagination. We're a bunch of, um, kind of maverick thinkers. I mean, philosophers just historically have been mavericks. They tend to be rebellious. Some of them tend to be grumpy, and of course, it can get quite emotive because some of these ideas are very, very central to people's view of themselves, right? So I think we need to sort of tread a bit carefully, both in terms of, our confidence in our own positions, but also, we tread a little bit carefully when it comes to other people's positions. So I think, just decency and humanity and conscientiousness, really. I mean, I know these things don't sort of almost go without saying, which is why we don't really specify these in the rules. And as a general position, I have found philosophers more approachable and less dogmatic than your average bear. So, we're going to be fine. But I'm just sort of setting out some vague ideas and guidelines. We're going to work up something a bit more solid. I will restate the Chelsoph mission at some point, and post that in the group and again on the YouTube channel. And we're going to come up with something a bit more detailed about our approach to each other and our approach to philosophy, because this is a philosophy group, so we should be espousing the virtues of philosophy. And philosophy means love of wisdom, and it's about rigorous, rational thinking. It's quite often about not knowing as opposed to knowing. Philosophy and science are very, very good at telling us that we don't know things. And we need to kind of respect reason and, to a degree, the scientific method as well. It must be remembered that science and the scientific method was originally born out of philosophy, right? So yeah, have a lovely week. Probably stop there and speak again soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.